Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Proverbs, the 14th chapter. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. How does a wise woman build her house? By being in order, right? She supports her man. She takes care of the children. She doesn't bring occasion for evil reproach onto her family. That's helping to build or establish or make sure the house is sure. See, there's a role that women play as well in part as part of keeping the household strong. She takes care of her husband so he can go and take care of business that needs to be taken care of, and he doesn't have to worry about certain things. And she raises up the children in the right way so they grow and they strengthen the family. See, but the foolish woman plucketh it down with her hands by her actions. She's stressing out the man. She's not taking care of the children. She's not taking care of the household. Things that need to be taken care of, and eventually she ruins her own family. She ruins her marriage. There's always arguments. There's always stress. She's tearing down her own household. That's supposed to be a unit. He that walketh in his uprightness feareth the Lord. Right, so the upright fear the Lord, and through the fear of the Lord they gain what? Wisdom. But he that is perverse in his ways despiseth him. So when you look at those that are perverse or crooked or contrary to the way of righteousness, that's a sign that they despise the Lord, and they despise obedience that comes by following after the instructions of the Lord. In the mouth of the foolish is a rod of pride, but the lips of the wise shall preserve them. See? So fools spew forward pride, not knowing when to humble themselves, but the lips of the wise shall preserve them, because they're going to speak the right thing, in whatever situation they're in. They're going to judge the time and know what to say, to be able to preserve them from whatever situation they may be in. Where no oxen are, the crib is clean, but much increase is by the strength of the ox, right? So on the one hand, if you don't have oxen, you don't got to worry about cleaning up their shit and their dirt and the stuff that they do. But the trade-off is, if you do have oxen, then you can use them. The increase is because you use oxen to work, right? They drive the plow, so you can open up the earth, create those furrows, and plant the seeds. They can also be used to thresh during the harvest. So they're useful for many reasons, but this is the trade-off that comes with it. Yeah, you don't have to clean if you have no ox, but if you do have ox, then you can make that much more increase in your in your husbandry. A faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness will utter lies. Yeah, a faithful witness is going to tell the truth, because they're faithful. But a false witness is going to utter lies. They're going to say they saw something they didn't see. They're going to falsely accuse somebody. A scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, because the Lord is not going to give it to a scorner. In Wisdom of Solomon, I believe is the 3rd chapter, it mentions that wisdom will not enter into a malicious soul. But knowledge is easy unto him that hath understanding. Also in Wisdom of Solomon, it says that wisdom preventeth them. See if I can find it. And the word preventeth in Old English doesn't mean to stop. It means to go ahead of. So to eagerly, right here, Wisdom of Solomon 6:13, she preventeth them that desire her in making herself first known unto them. So she's easy to find of those that desire her, because she's going to reach out to you. She's going to come looking for you, right, in a sense. Verse 7, go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge, because you're wasting your time. Right? If you see this person as foolish, there's nothing you can learn from them. And if they're disagreeing with you, then you're wasting your time trying to go back and forth with them. So when you perceive there's no knowledge in their words, leave them. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. See, so a part of the wisdom of the prudent is understanding what it is they're doing, understanding what it is, what path they're going in, what decision they've made. That's a part of what makes them prudent. So they look well into their going. but the folly of fools is deceit. So through their folly, they're deceived, and they end up what, in a bad situation. They don't end up amounting to anything. Fools make a mock at sin, but among the righteous there is favor. Okay, and that mock at sin is like they don't take it seriously. Like even if they transgress, they make it seem like it's not a big deal. They don't understand the gravity of it. As it says, but among the righteous there is favor. Let's look at that in the NLT. Fools make fun of guilt, but the godly acknowledge it and seek reconciliation, and that's why there's favor. Because if you do something wrong, and you see that it truly wrongs somebody, rather than sneering at it like it's something light, you acknowledge, all right, it was, to you it may not have been that serious, but to this person it's a serious offense, and you treat it as such, and you'll gain favor, right? You can be reconciled to them again, as opposed to taking the other route, trying to justify yourself, knowing that you're in the wrong. The heart knoweth his own bitterness, and a stranger doth not intermeddle with his joy. It says here, each heart knows its own bitterness, right? So only you can fully understand, right? If you're in bitterness, somebody can try to relate, but only you like truly feel what you're feeling, right? And no one else can fully share its joy, right? And vice versa. You can describe it, right? But some of these things are really unique to whoever's going through it. It's kind of like when somebody finds something funny, and they send it to you, and maybe it's a meme or it's a video, and it's kind of funny to you, but you find yourself laughing more at the fact that they're laughing so hard rather than you finding it as funny as they do, right? Because some of these things, is just exclusive to the person. The house of the wicked shall be overthrown, but the tabernacle of the upright shall flourish. Okay, and the house of the wicked, right, that goes into their because what is a house? It's I mean, how else to put it, right? Let's look into that word house to see, maybe there'll be some synonyms in there. But it's like your establishment, right? Your dwelling. Yeah, your house, your establishment, your dwelling, your place, your household, your family, your descendants, all those that are attributed to it. And it says, of the wicked shall be overthrown. It's not going to last long, because the Lord does not favor the wicked. So, and that's why when you look all throughout prophecy, the nation of people that have been designated as the wicked in the Bible, it tells you they're the Edomites. Look at all the prophecies concerning them. It does not end well. It ends in an overthrow. It ends in destruction. But the tabernacle of the upright shall flourish. So once again, look at the prophecies concerning who the Lord has chosen as the upright, which are the nation of Israel. And starting with the elect of the nation of Israel, it always ends in a benefit. Their captivity being turned, us being raised unto immortality, all these things. That is an example of the truth in Proverbs 14 and 11. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. And that's why you have to not lean on your own understanding, but trust in the Lord. Because sometimes there's some things that seem, right or correct to you, but as it says, the end thereof is death. Okay? So you got to trust in the Lord, because it might not end well for you. Even in laughter, the heart is sorrowful, and the end of that mirth is heaviness. It says here, laughter can conceal a heavy heart, but when the laughter ends, the grief remains. So you have some people that can laugh, like, for example, somebody might be going through something, and you might make them laugh, and that for that period of time they may laugh, but it may look like they're okay, but in actuality they're not. They're still sorrowful. And once they stop laughing, once the joke is not funny anymore, or once the moment passes, they go back to that heaviness. It says, the backslider in heart shall be filled with his own ways, and a good man shall be satisfied from himself. And a backslider is somebody that, that they turn back, right? We'll go into that word backslider in a minute. But it says backsliders get what they deserve, right? So backslider in heart shall be filled with his own ways. That's you reaping the consequences of your own actions. And where we at? Good people receive their reward, right? And a good man shall be satisfied from himself. that is a recompense for their action. Now let's go into the word backslider. To move or to turn back, to move away, to backslide, to prove recreant to, so look up that word, to be repulsed, or recreant. Cowardly, unfaithful to a belief, apostate. So what would be the backsliding here, or recreant to the ways of the Lord, to the truth, right, to the commandments of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, and that has consequences that come along with it. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well into his going. See, you have some people that are very simple. Whatever it is they hear one thing from this person, they believe it. They hear something on TikTok, they believe it. They hear, somebody teaching a false doctrine, instead of looking well into it and asking questions like the Church of Berea and confirming whether it's true or not, they just take it at face value. Oh, just take my word for it. Okay, I'm taking your word for it. That's what makes you simple. But the prudent, right? Those that are wise, those that are shrewd, they interrogate things, they look well into it, they prove the things that they hear. That's how they look well into their going. They make sure they understand, okay, I'm not gullible. What is this that I'm hearing? What is this true? Or, how can I, understand this to be the case? A wise man feareth and departeth from evil, but the fool rageth and is confident. See? So, and that's like to rage, but in boasting in vain confidence. And if you're not careful, that can lead you to do something that can actually end up, harming you, right? End up killing you, really. But a wise man feareth not because they're a coward, but because they consider the consequences of the situation, right? All right, given this situation, it's probably not a good idea to do this, right? They fear what could happen. And through that, they depart from evil. They take the low route. They avoid certain cases. But a fool is just like, nah, F that. Nah, X, Y, and Z, having a foolish confidence, and they end up getting themselves hurt. He that is soon angry dealeth foolishly, right? If you get angry quick and you're rash to do things, you deal foolishly. And a man of wicked devices is hated, right? Wicked devices is wicked plotting or wicked plans. Because what? Your wicked plans obviously is against somebody else. And once that comes to light and you're exposed, you have a negative reputation. And you look at Esau today, right? And all this stuff is coming out about them, that they were really the ones guilty of this and that and this and that. People hate them all around the world. Okay? Why is that? Why do you think people hate the small hats? Okay? The people in the land of Israel today, why do you think that people don't like them? Is it because they just got up one day and just said, oh, we just don't like you? No. It's because of their wicked devices that have been found out. The simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. Okay, those are the simple, what they have to them, right? It's folly. That's what they're going to end up with. If you inherit something, it's what you end up with, right? What's passed down to you and eventually becomes yours. If you start off a wise child and a simple child, and you let them out into the world, what the simple is going to end up with is folly, because they don't know how to navigate, through this world. But the prudent, the wise, are crowned with knowledge, because they're going to seek out knowledge. They're going to seek out the path, of wisdom, and they're going to come out with that crown of knowledge. Verse 19: the evil bow before the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous. Because the righteous triumph over the wicked. Just like we're going to triumph over the wicked in this story that the Lord has set up, right? And they're going to come, and as it says, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous. So they're going to be at our gates. They're going to be at our mercy, and that's biblical. That's prophetic. The poor is hated even of his own neighbor, but the rich hath many friends. And that hated, when you go into that, it's let's see what the word is here, if they'll actually give a good. Okay, to be hateful, to be hated, to be hated. But really what it means here is, you're not just hated for being poor, it's they're looked down upon, okay, or despised. Okay, look, the poor are shunned, NIV, even by their neighbors, but the rich have many friends. Why do the rich have many friends, which aren't really friends? Because of their money. The poor is despised and looked down upon because of their poverty. He that despiseth his neighbor sinneth, but he that hath mercy on the poor, happy is he. And why is that? Because you're showing a respect of persons. And what that means is if a certain situation arises and you had to, judge the matter, you're going to judge based off of, respecting of persons, because you're despising him based on what he has or what he doesn't have. And that's not being a righteous judge of character. But those that have mercy on the poor, happy is he. The scriptures tell you that, he that showeth mercy, or really one precept that says, mercy rejoiceth over that judgment. But also, if you show mercy, you'll receive mercy. And when you help the poor who can't help themselves or pay you back, the Lord pays you back on their behalf. Do they not err that devise evil? But mercy and truth shall be to them that devise good. And those that devise or plan or plot evil, they err, they go astray. But what mercy and truth shall be to them that devise good? In all labor there is profit, but the talk of the lips tendeth only to penury. Okay, so in all labor there is profit. When you work, there is profit to it. But penury is like let's type that in here. I know they have it in the other translations, but let's look at it anyway. Extreme poverty. So it says in the NLT, work brings profit, but mere talk leads to poverty, right? That's idle chatter. But that's the talk of the lips tendeth only to penury. If all you do is talk and you don't work, eventually you're going to come to poverty. Oh, I want to do this. Or I'm thinking about doing this. You always thinking about doing something and never doing anything. The crown of the wise is their riches. What that means is the riches, or the crown of the wise, which is their wisdom. Okay, that is their riches. That is the the riches that the wise wear, right, likened unto a crown. But the foolishness of fools is folly. A true witness delivereth souls, but a deceitful witness speaketh lies. Because a true witness will speak the truth, and the matter will judgment or justice will be issued out, and the one that is innocent is going to be delivered. But a deceitful witness, right, a lying witness, a false witness, speaketh lies. In the fear of the Lord Yahweh is strong confidence, and his children shall have a place of refuge. That is, those that fear the Lord. Their children are going to have a place of refuge, right, in the Lord. So they're going to be taken care of. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. And what is the fear of the Lord? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and wisdom leads to immortality. So it is a fountain of life to what? To depart from the snares of death. In the multitude of people is the king's honor, but in want of people is the destruction of the prince. So the multitude of people, the king is honored, right, through the abundance of his subjects. But in the want of the people is the destruction of the prince. Who are you going to rule over, right? If you destroy your own, city, or your people mutiny or desert you, then it doesn't matter that you're a prince or a king. That's your destruction. You're brought to nothing. And want here meaning like, to lack. He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly. See, so it's important to be long suffering. Because if you're too quick and too rash to do everything, you might end up overlooking something. Okay, sometimes you get angry, but you got to hear the whole situation, right, and not be so quick, to lose your cool. That's not good characteristics of a righteous judge. But he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly, because from that haste can come forth, folly or nonsense or wrong judgment. A sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy the rottenness of the bones. It says a peaceful heart adds to a healthy body. Jealousy is like cancer in the bones. He that oppresseth the poor reproacheth his maker. And who is the maker? The Most High. But he that honoreth him hath mercy on the poor. So if you honor the Lord, if you honor the Most High, You're going to be merciful to the poor, not despising them because of their poverty. The wicked is driven away in his wickedness, but the righteous hath hope in his death. Driven away meaning that, if you're driven away in your wickedness, that means you're carried off, right, and more likely than none into judgment by way of their wickedness. But the righteous hath hope in his death. So in the death of the righteous, they know that at least the Lord is going to receive them gracefully because they've lived a righteous life. Wisdom resteth in the heart of him that hath understanding, but that which is in the midst of fools is made known. So their folly is made is made known, is manifest before all. But wisdom resteth in the heart or the minds of him that hath understanding. And is it holy? See if I can find that. That's also in Wisdom of Solomon. Yeah, Wisdom of Solomon 7:27. But being one, dealing with wisdom, she can do all things and remaineth in herself. She maketh all things new, and in all ages entering into holy souls. See that? What does it say here? She resteth in the heart of him that hath understanding. Okay, which also those that are holy have understanding, which sets them apart and makes them holy. She maketh them friends of God and prophets. So going back here to Proverbs 14:34, righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. See, so a nation that is rooted in righteousness is going to be exalted, is going to be raised up and established. But sin is a reproach to any people. Like Sodom and Gomorrah, they were a sinful nation, and they're looked at as reproachful, right? And they're used as an example of the ungodly. In the NLT, it says, godliness makes a nation great, but sin is a disgrace to any people. Verse 35, the king's favor is toward a wise servant, but his wrath is against him that causeth shame. And that's really the case for anybody, right? If you have a wise servant, your favor is going to be towards them. You're going to like them because they're wise, right? They're trustworthy, they're reliable. And likewise, even for us, right? Those that are wise, that do the will of the Lord, who's likened unto the king, have favor in the eyes of the Lord. But his wrath is against those that cause shame, right? Because their actions bring forth shame. It's disgraceful. They don't have integrity. It's not honest. And they're not doing a good job. And that brings us to the end of the book of Proverbs, the 14th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Until next time, Shalom.